The average woman applies 187 chemicals before she even leaves the bathroom in the morning. Because think about it. You shampoo, you condition, you body wash, maybe shave your legs, you wash your face, you put a toner or a moisturizer. Maybe you're putting something in your hair, you're putting a body lotion on, maybe you're putting an SPF on, you're putting deodorant on. And all of those have a dozen different chemicals that you're putting onto your body. And there was also a study that showed that women are exposed to about 50 milligrams of parabens per day through personal care products, because these things can also be accumulative, meaning that they can build up in the body. And these parabens can actually interfere with hormone function, male reproductive functions, and mimic estrogen in the body. And parabens have also been found and detected in human breast cancer tissues. And another thing is, when applied to the skin, they can actually react to UVB light, leading to increased aging and DNA damage. Like, no, thank you.
Welcome to the Clear Skin Chronicles, the podcast that takes you on a journey to uncover the secrets of achieving glowing, acne-free skin. We believe that knowledge is power, and by understanding the root causes of your acne, we can create a solid foundation for long-lasting clear skin. I'm Katie Stewart, registered holistic nutritionist and founder of the Clear Skin Solution, where we help women just like you get to the root cause of their acne.
And I'm Chris Brown, registered holistic nutritionist and program director in the Clear Skin Solution. Through functional testing, we pinpoint where the body system imbalances lie so we can dive deep into your acne clearing journey.
We work virtually with clients to clear up their skin from the inside out and have helped thousands of women worldwide regain their confidence.
We have a big episode today, is probably an understatement. This is a really massive topic. I don't even think we'll be able to do it justice in the hour that we have for the podcast, because it is so widespread. And this is a really important episode, especially to me, because this is actually how I feel like this was my gateway into the healthy eating and healthy living. It started with my beauty products, because from a very, very young age, I've been painting my nails since I was 4 or 5 years old. I love everything to do with beauty, hair, nails, makeup, skincare. And when I was in university, I had this 6-foot long IKEA table that I used as a dressing table that I brought with me to university. I had insane amounts, like baskets and baskets of hair and makeup. I was going to MAC all the time. I bought all of the popular marketed, like the big sexy hairspray, like you name it, I had it. And I used this day in and day out from the age of like 4 or 5 up until when I discovered this, probably in my like 1920. And my mom bought me this book by Gillian Deacon. It was called There's Lead in Your Lipstick. And I was like, oh, why is she buying me this? Like, come on, mom. Like, when your mom's like just doing things to make you better and you're like, just leave me alone. But I love reading. So I read it, and I was so infuriated by, like, not even halfway through this book, I'm like, what do you mean? What do you mean there's harmful, cancer causing, hormone disrupting ingredients in my products? I'm like, no, they can't be my products. They can't. So I remember sitting on my bedroom floor with this book, and I had like a little garbage can beside me, and I went through every single bottle, product, container, and there was a lot, like probably well over 100. Every single product I had parabens, phthalates, artificial fragrances, all of the big ingredients you're not supposed to have. And I remember putting them one by one into the trash bin, so much so that I had to go and get one of my dad's heavy duty garage garbage bags, because that little basket was cutting it. And I remember sitting there like, well, what am I supposed to do now? Because I don't want to be impacting my health like this, but I also want to still be enjoying, all of the fun things that I love to do, makeup and hair. So this is a really, really big thing to be aware of, because if you're eating healthy, you're drinking healthy water, but you're not looking at the very toxic and harmful ingredients, and not just your skincare, your personal care products, even your cleaning products. Think anything you apply to your skin, you use on a day-to-day basis. And this is even with kids' products, which I think is so sickeningly disgusting that it infuriates me to my core, that these manufacturers knowingly put harmful ingredients into products you're using on children. And just a side note, you have to remember that these products are so much more detrimental on children because they're smaller people, they're smaller bodies. So the toxic load is much, much higher in them. So this was a really long intro, but I do have two others here with me today. I do have our, of course, Chris Brown, and I do have our amazing, very knowledgeable, holistic licensed esthetician, Ashley, here, because we wanted to really take an approach from this, you guys, as how is it impacting your skin? How is it impacting our health? So I'm gonna stop talking for a second because I feel like I've overdone it. Chris, do you want to jump in? Because you know this is a big topic.
Well, if you're new to the podcast, just fasten your seatbelt. If you have listened to other podcasts, this topic is like saying birth control to Katie. So I'm just going to let you know there's going to be a ton of information coming down.
I'm going to try to not get angry. I'll try to not get angry. Okay.
We're going to try.
I should say passionate.
Passionate. We're going to try to wipe the spit from the screen so that you can actually see her on these replays. But this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to do that. And then Ashley's going to talk about all those good things and you're going to talk, and, you know, I'll throw something in here and there, but I will say this. I just ran into this situation at Christmas, right? My girls are girly girls. Universe, there's my comma right there. And I was like, oh my gosh, they want this and they want that. Within 30 seconds, Katie had a whole list of everything that I could feel comfortable with putting in the girls' stockings so that they could still do the girly girl things. And I don't feel like I'm just solidifying their death. And that's actually sometimes how I feel with these products.
Absolutely. And I remember at Christmas time, Chris was like, my girls want nail polish and they want this. And Paige and I were like, don't you even worry. We'll put together a whole shopping cart for you, because this is something that I have been doing. Like I said, this was the very first thing I ever was exposed to. I believe I was 18 or 19 at the time. I'm 34 now. So like, what's that? Over 15 years. I have really been working on this. So I would like to think that I have a little bit of knowledge to share with everybody. So before we get into, you know, really how this is impacting the skin, I want to bring forward the Toxic Substance Control Act from 1976 and why we all need to know about this, because this was, again, something I was so angry to learn about. So essentially what happened was back in 1976, this act was put into place, which essentially grandfathered in around 62,000 chemicals that were already on the market. So this means that all of these chemicals were allowed to remain in use, ready for it, without any safety testing. No safety testing was required for these grandfathered in chemicals. And because these chemicals were grandfathered in, they were never fully tested for their impacts on human health, on the environment health. So we had no idea about the risks associated with these. And they really only looked into these ingredients if an issue came to the forefront, if someone experienced, you know, something harmful. Now we have to know that if there isn't comprehensive testing, we're going to be exposed to chemicals that we believe are healthy, because you're a consumer. You go to the store, you pick something off the shelf. Wouldn't you expect that had been tested for human safety? Of course you would, because you didn't know that all of these chemicals had been grandfathered in, which I think is unbelievable.
And sadly, we have that today.
Sadly, and this is back in the 70s. Like, this has been ongoing for how many of our years now?
And look how smarter we are.
And
these are all ingredients that I want to put out there. They're all ingredients that are also very cheap to make and easy to put into products and to make into formulations. So, of course, our manufacturers are going to cut costs and they're going to use these ingredients. Why not? To make all of the products that we use.
Absolutely, because you have to remember, so many of these companies, as awful as it is, because you and I and Chris and most people listening, we probably have a moral conscience, and we would be like, I'm not putting that in something that a kid's going to apply to their skin just so I can make more money. But unfortunately, there's so many extremely greedy big corporations that don't care about that. They just care about what their revenue is going to be, because they're able to get a much cheaper product. And, you know, as scientific understanding really has evolved over the last few decades, we're very slowly learning about the chemicals, how they're impacting with our bodies, the environment, as these different research comes out. Like, we'll talk about parabens today, which we know have implications with cancer. And it's been a really slow process, because think about it, tens of thousands of things over the years. So as we're reassessing and as we're regulating these older chemicals as new evidence, it's been a very, very slow process, unfortunately. And and another unfortunate is there's such little public awareness. So this is why we really wanted to dedicate an entire episode to this topic. So really, Ashley, when we're looking at the skincare perspective, there's thousands, like we said, there's thousands of different things we could talk about, but I really want to talk about the big common 12 that we see in skincare products, personal care products, cleaning products, things that we're using day in and day out. And this is why we have an esthetician on the team to really help educate our clients about the ingredients that are going into their skincare. So we do have a full blog on the toxic ingredients, but let's go through a few of them, Ashley, and how they're impacting the skin. And then Chris and I can talk about how they're impacting internally.
Absolutely. So I would say the top 12, or a couple that I always have people really embed in their brains and have a look out, not just for skincare, for hair, for body care, anything they're putting on their body, really. Fragrance would be one of my top ones, because to actually have fragrance on a bottle, you don't have to disclose what's actually in all the ingredients that are in fragrance. So there could be hundreds of other ingredients under the name fragrance. So that just goes to show how much more toxic load there is just under the label of one ingredient. And then in regards to skin, it could be very reactive.
Absolutely.
To our skin, but then obviously all the hormonal implications and how it disrupts our hormones as well. Parabens are a big one, which I know we're going to talk about a little bit more. Mineral oils, any kind of silicones, our dyes. I don't know why, for some reason, we have to put a red or blue dye into a face moisturizer to make it look nicer.
You don't.
Blue
That
dye
just gets me going.
Can I just say,
Yeah.
barium? Barium is a heavy metal, and blue dyes, we have to watch for that barium.
And we see this with the hair trace mineral analysis, the heavy metal load. And we Chris, what would you say would be some of the most common heavy metals that we're seeing in our acne clients?
Lead? Well, I mean, yeah, for sure. Lead and barium, aluminum. I can almost like huge amount. And then from there, we're going to see concentrations of mercury. But again, that could be from food sources like fish, or cadmium from GMO, or even if they're living in a urban like area, right? However, when we tend to pin it down with that chemical compound of things they're using to support their skin, I usually do see either lead, barium, and or aluminum.
And aluminum as well, it could be found. The thing is, your face cream's not going to say aluminum as an ingredient, but it might say mineral oil that has traces of aluminum, right? Mm-hmm. And other heavy metals. So that's where you want to dig a little deeper. Any kind of petroleums as well, your Vaselines.
That's my birth control topic right there. That's my birth control.
Let's do a little bit on Vaseline.
Vaseline as a lip moisturizer. I'd rather have dry, creased, crepey lips than put petroleum on my lips.
Nope, no thank you. No thank you to the Vaseline.
Remember, petroleum is lead. There's no other way around it. It's crude oil. So, when you're sitting there pumping your gas, are you like, oh my gosh, my lips are dry? Just, when you take out the
rub a little
nozzle, you just rub it on there, you just sniff it on your hands.
Whip it good and lather it on.
Oh yeah, like it's not. And should I share what some of the uses that I've seen clients use it for?
Oh, Chris.
Please.
I'm nervous, but sure.
I'm going to. Because it's an education base. So one, I have seen it as a lip lube in multiple areas of the female body. So that's universal talk.
Lubrication.
Lubrication for the vagina, as sexual intercourse, for men, for other things, lips, just dry skin, putting on babies after bathing, right? This scares me. not too much scares me, but this scares me because how has this product been on the market knowing the catastrophic levels of lead in it and the detriment to the body it has?
And can I just
To
add an
me,
asterisk onto the
full-on
vaginal
malpractice.
component? Yeah,
Oh,
I think it's
yeah.
horrendous. So what's something important to know is like the vaginal canal, it's a very absorbable area. So we have to remember that our skin is not a catch-all barrier, right? It's not like you're slathering these things on and they're not going anywhere. Our skin has the ability to absorb the things that we're putting on, especially if, for instance, small like oil soluble molecules can more easily penetrate the skin than the larger water soluble molecules, right? So we have to be looking at the chemical composition because some products are designed to go deeper into the skin. And if you're dealing with areas that are thinner, like the inside of your wrist, this is going to be absorbing substances more readily than thicker areas. So if you're somebody that spritzes perfume on your wrist and rubs them together, that's going to be a more absorbable area. The vaginal canal, like I said, that's going to be a highly absorbable area. So if you're just shoving things in there that have parabens, you're getting lubricants that have parabens and fragrances and all of those things, that's going to be setting yourself up for disaster.
Yeah, and watch out for those yeast infections.
Yes. Yeah. And that's the thing is that so often we'll see people, especially in our community, saying, I get yeast infections all of the time and I'm always using those vaginal washes. I'm doing this and I'm doing that. Remember, like your vagina is self-cleaning. It doesn't need rose scented soaps shoved up there in order to clean itself. So we want to be looking at keeping the microbiome of that area in a really, really healthy spot. And one thing actually I do want to go back to before we move on is the fact that you mentioned the fragrance. So fragrance for me is one of like a hard nope, not doing it, because there can be there's up to 3,000 different chemicals that are utilized in the fragrance industry. And because it is a trademarked secret for the company, they legally don't have to disclose the ingredients in their fragrance. And there was a study done for the campaign for Safe Cosmetics with the Environmental Working Group. And they looked at a bunch of the most popular fragrances at the time, things like, Coco Chanel and American Eagle and JLo Glow. Like JLo Glow is my jam back in the day. I was spritzing that on every day. And they found an average of 14 secret chemicals in the perfumes that weren't listed on the ingredients list. And when you look at Coco Chanel perfume, there's actually 18 hidden ingredients not shown on the fragrance list. So how are you supposed to be an informed consumer if you're not even being shown all of the ingredients on there?
Because they trademark
but we're
them
sold
and
the
they
marketing
register
behind
them.
it.
Yeah, we're sold the marketing behind it.
And this is where I'm going to share my story because fragrance is really close to my heart because when I first started in the industry about 7 years ago, I worked at a luxurious beauty department store. And obviously we were spraying fragrances all day long and testing makeup on our face and my hands, right? To show a client lipsticks. I was lathering it all over my hands to the point when I would get home, both of my hands had lipstick marks on them. And then makeup remover on top. So I was exposed to so much products on a daily basis. It was actually disgusting. And that's where I started to have a lot of hormonal imbalances, the worst PMS I have ever had in my life. And I didn't know why until I went to nutrition school and figured that out. But I tried everything under the sun. But the PMS was ridiculous. And now that I look back, I know for a fact that it was because I was exposed to so many chemicals. And looking back also, a lot of my colleagues had similar, either problems or
respiratory issues,
implications, asthma. Yeah. And looking back, I'm like, oh, well, obviously we were spraying fragrance all day. We thought it was cool. Oh, look at this one, right? This one's so great. This is a $600 fragrance. This one's only $300, but
high-end fragrances, right? And
high-end.
And people are buying these and fragrances are everywhere. Like they're in your laundry detergent, they're in your cleaning products, they're in so many things, and just starting to be really aware of it is so important. So outside of the fragrances, of course, there's going to be things like parabens. And I still see in skincare products with parabens to this day. And some very popular acne products contain parabens. So let's talk about some products that may be having those hidden parabens, and they all have fragrances as well, because I see this a lot, and I'm sure you do too, Ashley, is a lot of acne products contain parabens and fragrances. So, and even phthalates. So we're knowingly putting hormone disrupting, cancer causing ingredients onto our skin when we're trying to combat and fix our hormones and so many other things. And some really popular acne specific brands I see this with would be the Adapalene Different Gel, parabens, La Roche-Posay, parabens, fragrances everywhere. And any of those like drugstore big popular brands like the Biore, the Maybelline, even Mario Badescu, which is a big brand for acne sufferers, things like Life Brand, Well at Walgreens. So you're thinking you're buying a good product because you know there's an aloe leaf on it and it's green and natural, but you turn it around just to see there's parabens in it. Or even things like self tanner. So the Saint Tropez self tanner, some of them have parabens. Remember, these brands you have to get really good because maybe one product in their line doesn't contain a paraben, but then a whole bunch of other ones do. So this is where you really have to get good at being a researcher. And even again, things like sunscreen, Banana Boat, including the kids sunscreen, will have parabens in it. Victoria's Secret, Sally Hansen. I've even seen parabens in Huggies baby wipes for sensitive baby bums. They're putting carcinogenic, cancer-causing ingredients in children's baby wipes. How awful is that?
It's the easiest way. It's like one of the cheapest ways to make them. So why not? It preserves the product. So they could have those Huggies wipes on the shelves for like 20 years and nothing will happen to it.
Exactly. But actually, you were saying that they're starting to get clever and they've actually renamed the word paraben on a lot of products because people have caught on. So what's the new one that people need to be watching out for?
Yeah, it's like chemistry. They'll change the name of one thing and then put a more sophisticated, longer name on there, and people will say, oh, it's not parabens, it doesn't trigger me. The two that I've seen lately are alkyl parahydroxybenzoate and hydroxybenzoates.
And so that's just as steer clear, put it back on the shelf, please walk away.
Yeah. Still the same thing, still the same kind of preservatives, same effects on your body.
Mm-hmm. Because when we're really looking at parabens, right, Chris, we can see this working internally in the body as well, because parabens, like you'll often see them, aside from the ones Ashley mentioned, the methyl paraben, butyl paraben, ethyl paraben, propyl paraben, and like you said, isoparaben. They're preservatives that you'll see in moisturizers, toothpaste, shampoo, and makeup. So like the CoverGirl, the Maybelline, the L'Oreal, like those are the places you're going to be finding it. And, you know, they're also used in fragrances. So even if they're not on the label, parabens can be hidden under fragrance and you wouldn't even know it. And you know what's really interesting is I remember when I was reading There's Lead in Your Lipstick, it was like this crazy stat, like the average woman applies 187 chemicals before she even leaves the bathroom in the morning. Because think about it, you shampoo, you condition, you body wash, maybe shave your legs, you wash your face, you put a toner or a moisturizer, maybe you're putting something in your hair, you're putting a body lotion on, maybe putting an SPF on, you're putting deodorant on, and all of those have a dozen different chemicals that you're putting onto your body. And there was also a study that showed that women are exposed to about 50 milligrams of parabens per day through personal care products, because these things can also be accumulative, meaning that they can build up in the body. And these parabens can actually interfere with hormone function, male reproductive functions, and mimic estrogen in the body. And parabens have also been found and detected in human breast cancer tissues. And another thing is when applied to the skin, they can actually react to UVB light, leading to increased aging and DNA damage. Like, no thank you, across the board.
Yep. They can make you more sensitive to the sun.
So,
and they're also found in sunscreen.
And they're also found in sunscreen.
Make you more, right? Like, there's your counteractive effect.
So another one I want to talk about is, let's talk about phthalates. Because phthalates is another big one that we're going to be seeing, right? Like we see this in skincare all the time, and this can be acting as an endocrine disruptor. And Health Canada also suggests that phthalates can cause liver, kidney, and lung damage as well. So phthalates can be, you know, hidden in perfume, in fragrances, eyeshadow, moisturizer, deodorant, liquid soap, shampoo, conditioner, hairspray. And we're just unknowingly not only applying this to the body, but if we're spraying things, we're going to be breathing it in as well.
We have to remember, again, it's that compounded load. I cannot stress that enough. And when we have that compounded load, all of these ingredients, they are not measured by everything you're putting on your skin. In fact, that single source, whatever deodorant, there's been individual testings on, say, the aluminum, on the titanium, but not as a compound load even in that single ingredient, like that single product. So we have to be very, very careful because, like you said, and that's kind of like where I come in is, yeah, let's make the liver even more sluggish, even more tired. Hello, thyroid issues. Hello, cholesterol. Hello, blood glucose sugar. What does that really mean? It means you're tired and you're sluggish and you're cranky. And who likes that? And you can't get your toxins out, and then they build up, and then you auto intoxicate. And then you know what? You can't figure out why we still have acne.
Right. And we have to be looking at those skincare products. And remember, like we talked about, is if these harmful toxic ingredients get past your skin's defenses, they can end up in your bloodstream, which is going to be circulating through your body, going to be heading to your liver, going to be slowing it down. And like you said, Chris, it could be impacting your thyroid. It can be impacting your PMS, your fertility. And there's so many unknowns about this because this can be leading to long-term health issues. And if we're using these products day in and day out, this is long-term exposure. And like you just said, it's an accumulative effect over the years.
And think about that
And from
this is a hormone
skincare
disruptor. Sorry, Ashley, right? So when people have acne, how often do we hear it's because of my hormones? It's because of my hormones. Yes.
Because of my hormones.
It's not really because of the hormones. It could be the insult to the hormones, insult to the body systems, insult really to that stress. It's the stress-like patterns, right? That are going to trigger these things. So please, please be careful. If we can take out the insults to the hormones, is it a hormone imbalance?
Or is it just being triggered by all of these hormone disrupting chemicals? And when we say hormone disruptors, they're often called endocrine disruptors, hormone mimickers. Like there's a bunch of different phrases for them, but just know they can actually mimic your own hormones, which is going to be throwing off your finely tuned hormonal orchestra. So let's say you're someone that's dealing with estrogen dominance and endometriosis is a really big issue for you. We need to be looking at, are there possible triggers in the products that I'm using all of the time?
Yeah.
And not only are they mimicking hormones, they can block hormones, they can interfere with your natural hormone production, they can alter hormone transport. There's so many different ways that this is impacting your body. And yet here we are unknowingly slathering this on every day.
And from a skincare perspective, think about it. You're spending money on buying these ingredients, right? These products that have wasted space in this formulation with all of the stuff that your skin now has to absorb, assimilate, make sense of it, run it through the bloodstream, and it's not helping your skin in any way. In fact, it could actually contribute to thinning of our skin's barrier.
And we don't want that. We want to be nourishing the skin barrier.
Yeah.
So before we move into, because I do want to talk about, okay, now that we scared the crap out of everybody, they're like, great, I got to throw everything out. I got to start from scratch. So before we get into all of the how-tos to make sure, you know, you're removing these from your day-to-day, I do want to touch on a couple things. First, I want to touch on some stats and then on sunscreen, because sunscreen is a topic we get asked all the time. So when it comes to the chemicals, right, it's not just impacting our health, but it can also, say you're, you know, a woman and you're pregnant, it can also be impacting the health of your unborn baby. Because there's been a number of studies done, and back in the mid 2000s, maybe earlier 2000s, the Environmental Working Group did a study on the umbilical cord of newborn babies, and they found the average amount was about 287 chemicals found in the umbilical cord of unborn babies, which is crazy to think about. And this is just, again, that long-term exposure. And Ashley, you were saying that you had also heard a study done on placenta as well, where they were finding like heavy metals in placenta. And again, like these are core parts of the nourishment and growth of a baby.
Yeah, I cried when I read and saw that. But even there, like another thing that I was just thinking of is it's not just what you put on your body, right? The mom's facial products. It could be also the father, right? The people that you're surrounded with, the fragrances that they're, right? The male hairspray that's like that is polluting and lingering in the bathroom all the time, and then you're inhaling that.
But even things like, those smelly candles that you're getting at the all the candle shops that smell all these different seasonal smells, like those can be having phthalates and parabens. So it can also be the things that you're breathing in, like those plug-in wall air fresheners, like we said, the cleaning products. So they are in a bunch of different areas outside of just what you're putting onto your skin.
Yeah. One ingredient I would point out while we're on the topic of, fumes in the air is formaldehyde,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's a big one that when sprayed, when we inhale it, can have detrimental effects on our body.
Yeah, it's formaldehyde releasing preservatives as well. They're carcinogenic and they can irritate both your eyes and your skin. So we have to be aware of the things that we're using on a day to day. And again, this is something I've done over the last 15 years, right? Is getting different products and finding, maybe using essential oils instead of artificial candles. And, really just, I did this slowly over, because it's so overwhelming to do all at once. Now, before we get into that, I just quickly want to touch on sunscreen as well, because actually this is something we hear from the clients, especially going into the summer months, is what about sunscreen? So how can they be finding healthy sunscreens without these harmful ingredients?
My go-to is, I know we're going to talk about this, but always checking with the EWG.
Mm-hmm.
Just to go through all of the ingredients. Obviously, we talk about this a lot, but going for those mineral-based sunscreens, chemical sunscreens are not good for our hormones or our skin. So that's going to be the zinc oxides or the titanium dioxides, mainly zinc, especially for acne, because it's more of a healing mineral topically. But that's the sunscreen you want to look for. Going through the EWG, verifying all of the ingredients, and then sourcing it from brands that make sunscreen. They specialize in it. It's not just like the next, I don't know, skincare brand now coming up with a sunscreen.
Mm-hmm. And when we're looking at the sunscreen, it's also the impact on the environment, because there's so, like, especially the oxybenzone, and I can never say this one. Is it the octanate, the oxonate?
Yeah.
Yes. So those
Yeah,
are
that one.
very common ingredients in your traditional sunscreen that have actually been banned in places like Hawaii because they've been bleaching the coral. So it's not only harmful to our health, it's harmful to the environmental health. And if we're destroying, coral in the underwater world, that's another thing that we really want to be cautious of. So there has been bans, especially in Hawaii is one of the first places to enact that, and looking for those reef safe sunscreens as well. And now that we brought up the EWG, let's kind of talk through, because the EWG is a great resource. There's lots of different ones. There's the Think Dirty app. There's all these wonderful resources out there. I believe the Safer Cosmetics database. There's a number of them. So when we're utilizing these really phenomenal tools, I'm super happy to have them skin deep. And the EWG even puts out their guide to safe sunscreens every spring, so that way you can be looking at that. But how can we properly navigate this? Because actually we'll often have clients saying like, hey, I went and checked out this product that you recommended, but it rates as a 4 on the EWG.
Yeah, so the EWG essentially has a rating of from 1 to 10, 10 being the most extreme, 1 being anything from sometimes even water they'll put at like a 1, or a glycerin or something that could potentially have a trace of maybe a mineral or I don't know, traces of something. Because unfortunately, that's the world we live in, right? Everything has come from something else. There's traces of minerals and in everything. But they will also flag things that could have an allergenic response to our skin or our body. So a common one I see there that, let's say, is rated at a 4 or 5 is lemon or bergamot or some kind of essential oil, which we know is great, right? It's clean, holistic, natural, right? We throw the word natural everywhere. But to some more sensitive skin types, it could be a little bit more irritating. What they also need to take into consideration is how much of that ingredient is actually found in this product, because the EWG will rate the ingredient as if you were putting pure lemon essential oils or tea tree oil on your skin versus having an essence of that in your product. And there's also a big difference there.
And also the fact you brought this up on a previous podcast, Ashley, is the actual formulation of the product. So are there additional ingredients that are stabilizers, that are pH balancers, that are making that an easier to apply ingredient?
Exactly. Does it have a delivery system? Is it really right penetrating the skin? Is it getting into a deeper layer, actually doing the work, or is it going to stay very superficial? It's going to be more irritating.
Absolutely. So outside of, utilizing those and, getting really familiar, turning the ingredients around, reading it, what are some other tips you give to clients to make sure that they're avoiding these ingredients in skincare? And then let's even talk about some different brands that you really enjoy.
Um, for overall, my go-to for like just overall products in general would be Attitude.
Love
They
Attitude.
are they are EWG verified, so the whole brand, because
Yeah.
brands could be
Skincare,
there.
but also baby cleaning. Like I use Attitude through my entire house.
Yeah, me too. And I know it's always safe because it gets exhausting sometimes having to go and check everything, because certain brands can have a cleaner, let's say, I don't know, body wash, but you go to their laundry detergent and it's absolutely like scandalous. So just the process of having to do so much research, let's face it, like not everybody wants to do that. So Attitude is a brand that's always safe. It's always EWG verified and easy to find and very affordable, I would say as well.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I love Attitude because it's a great across the board. Like they have like air purifier fresheners, like all of your traditional home care. I use it exclusively for my kids. I love their baby products. I also love kids products, like Weleda is a really great brand that I really like as well. I've used that extensively with the kids. The Honest Company has some really great products as well. So when we're looking at like skincare specific for acne sufferers, what would be some key brands that they could be reaching for that would be generally safe?
A lot of this is another thing, a lot of European brands, because Europe has a lot stronger regulations on their products and the ingredients they put in their products. So, if I were to right off the bat in a huge department store go from an American brand, let's say, to a European, I would first start at the European brands. For skincare, obviously small company brands are great because formulations just in general, they're not cheaping out on the ingredients that they're putting in their products to have bigger profit margins. Brands we always talk about obviously are Beauty Counter, Clear Stem, cosmetics, Osmosis Beauty, which are some more professional brands.
Three Ships.
Three Ships is one we're really loving lately. And then even resorting to just natural one ingredient products. So going to your local health food store, exploring what they have, and just going for the pure oils.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And we've talked about how multi-use the oils are.
Yeah, one brand that you'll find at the health food stores, and I've also met the owner of the company, is Skin Essence. Skin Essence Organics is a great Canadian company here, and they make amazing single source oils. Like you can get a rosehip oil, just a jojoba oil, and you'll generally be able to find them in the health food stores as well.
Yeah. And then when they make a moisturizer, if you don't want to go the oil route, they'll make a serum or a moisturizer and it'll still have not so many ingredients, right? It'll still have a little bit of those oils and a more water soluble product like a serum, more hyaluronic acid based, just really clean.
Mm-hmm. And when we're looking at things like SPF, is there certain brands that you really love for SPF?
SPF is hard because I would say there's a couple here and there that we list. Color Science is a nice one that I've been discovering lately. It's more of that tinted sunscreen, because this is another topic that we get a lot is sunscreen doesn't leave a white cast.
Oh,
right, especially with like makeup. So we'll root to some of the tinted stuff. But a big one that you can find at Sephora's, for example, is like Supergoop. But you have to be careful, not their again, they're a company that makes a lot of sunscreen. They have chemical sunscreens, mixture of physical and chemical and physical sunscreens. So that's where you want to look at those ingredients. So Supergoop would be one. I really love Clear Stem's
You Are Sunshine.
You Are Sunshine. Eminence has some really nice sunscreens that are tinted as well.
Mm-hmm. I know. I've been using the Beauty Counter Dew Skin Tinted Moisturizer SPF. I think it's 15.
Yeah.
I use that daily, day in and day out. So I generally like to use And you may feel the same way, Ashley, using a face-specific sunscreen on the face, so it's not as likely to clog the pores.
Yeah, it's not as rich. They make them a little bit more lightweight, and then the tint it's like a 2-in-1. It's your tinted moisturizer or foundation, whatever makeup you would like to use daily. So that's why I love tinted sunscreens. It's because it's a 2-in-1, and that way you're also not lathering on product, because when you're putting more makeup on top of a sunscreen, then there's a chance of it pilling and feeling richer and thicker, and you just don't want to layer on products.
Mm-hmm. And Chris, is there any kind of products that you really reach for in your day today? I know you're so product heavy over there, but do you have any brands that you really love using?
I'm just thinking how much my liver loves me because I use shea butter and I use a Schmidt deodorant that doesn't have any of those chemicals. And then I was thinking, what else
Schmidt's is a great brand.
I use Hello Joyous. I use her products.
Yeah, love Hello Joyous, because Joy McCartney, she's a lovely holistic nutritionist. I've met her a number of times. She's a good friend of one of my good friends, and she has a great product line, very, very clean.
So I do the HA. I apply that after. I do my shea butter. I do my deodorant, and Chris is done.
I
brushed my teeth. Actually, I have brushed my teeth.
And then I brushed my teeth. And what do you usually use for, like, your cleaning products, those types of brands?
Sometimes I use toxic ones.
Yeah,
sometimes I use toxic ones.
Okay, let's say more.
Yeah, absolutely. Because listen, if that garbage smells like dead animal, the only thing getting that stink out, I'm talking about the garbage bin that I keep in the garage. The only thing that's getting that stank out is bleach. I'm not putting it in with my clothes. Vinegar's a big one. I use baking soda. Absolutely. You want to have the best shine to your sink: baking soda, water, and a little bit of dish soap. Dish soap, I don't buy anything blue because potential barium. I know there's fragrance and stuff, but listen, everybody has to do what's good for, one, their budget, two, their sanity. Like when Steve's washing, but I tell him what products to use, the showers and stuff, dish soap and vinegar. That's our big go-to, dish soap and vinegar. I don't need any of these harsh chemicals in there. But sometimes, I do have a Comet in my house because we have well water, and sometimes you can't get, is it a staple? No. Does it last like an entire 2 years? Yes.
Yeah.
So I have to go for a bit of sanity too. Yeah.
Wearing gloves,
and I'm not endorsing any of this. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you are somebody that for your budget, maybe you are including some of the more chemical based options, wearing gloves, wearing a face mask so you're not breathing it in,
have your fan
and windows open, so that way you're getting better airflow. Like those are some really good tips and tricks. Now, before we finish this up, I want to talk about perfume, because we did kind of dig into it a little bit, how toxic it is and all of this. And for years I stopped wearing perfume because I used to have all of the pretty bottles from celebrities, the J-Lo, the Britney Spears, the this, the that. And I stopped wearing perfume. But so these days there's a lot of really more cleaner perfume brands out there that are readily available. So some ones that I have currently, Clean Reserve, which you can get at Sephora. Clean Reserve, 7 Virtues, which you can get at Sephora. I get their vanilla one, which is just vanilla essential oil and a little bit of alcohol. Beauty Counter has some great roll-on EWG verified ones. Essential oil companies like doTERRA has different perfume options. You can make your own with your favorite essential oils as well. So those would be some brands that I've utilized. Chris, I'm assuming you probably don't have a whole shelf of perfume at home.
I like Eau de Bio. No, I don't. But I will tell you, the one that you did recommend was the Virtues, and I did stock the stocking stuff. What do you call those, stockings? I'm doing it wrong. Anyways, stuffers? I gave it to the kids for Christmas, and I will tell you, there were 5 different ones, and the kids spray them. And I don't react. It doesn't stink. They are so nice. In fact, I would never tell the kids this, but I would go and spray. I would actually spray it in the house just to have a nice scent. So I will tell you, if you're like, well, perfumes react on me or I can't have them or whatever, these don't do them. And if it's gonna be the person to react, it would be me. So absolutely. And yeah, they like coconut, the coconut one. the best.
Mm-hmm. And what about you, Ashley? Do you have any other brands outside of that you reach for?
One that I discovered recently, it's called Maroma perfume oils. And then
You know,
there's
Katie's
another
adding
one
to
that's
the cart right
escaping
now, right? Add to cart.
Google. But also, the health food stores sometimes have, they're like essential oil bombs.
Mm-hmm.
They're in like balm forms that you could put on your body, and it's like coconut oil because oil will carry fragrance a lot, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'll sometimes spray those on or like put them on my body.
Mm-hmm.
But then you get so used to not wearing a fragrance that when you do, or when there's fragrance around you, it triggers me so much.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like a pregnant woman when I smell like strong fragrances.
I know it gives me headaches. Like I can't breathe in that or like synthetic fragrance. Like it's like, well, I cannot walk through the cleaning aisle at the grocery store. I can't do it.
Oh, it's so
Like,
putrid.
It gives me an
I know
instant
what you're
headache if I walk
saying.
through that aisle.
Oh,
Yeah.
Or like the department stores, I can't walk through the department stores right at the front where they got all the perfumes because instant headache.
I can't do the dollar store. Lead and
Ooh, yeah, the
mercury.
dollar store, I can't do
That's
it.
what you're smelling right there. Lead and
Yeah.
mercury.
Chris,
I
let
can't
him
do
break
it.
That's
I
not
walk
good.
in and the kids would be like, "Oh, we need a project. Can we go to the dollar store?" I'm like, "What project needs lead and mercury?" But they don't appreciate my humor or my brains. No.
They don't. So let's kind of summarize because this was a lot of info. We got about an hour's worth of info. So just remember, the things to remember is we have to be very cautious and we need to be our own health detective, flipping the bottles over, reading the ingredients. If you don't know what they mean, start with things like EWG, the Think Dirty app, Safer Cosmetics, and start to familiarize yourself. You know, you can even go and search specific products. And if it's not on there, a lot of these allow you to create your own report so you can copy the ingredients in. And then remember, start reading through to see which of the ingredients are the ones that are giving it that rating. If it's something more natural, like a rosemary, lemon essential oil, or whatever it may be, remember, take that with a grain of salt. So really just being very cautious and aware of what you're putting in your body, spraying in your home, starting to phase out and make different choices. You know, maybe you'll reach for things like the Attitude, the 3 Ships, the Eminence Beauty Counter, whatever it is. We put a lot of these brands in the show notes as well, so that way you don't have to go back and listen to it a bunch of times. And just really getting cautious and aware and making the best decision for you, your family, and your budget. And don't worry, is if you want a more deep dive into those toxic ingredients, I will link the blog that we have in the show notes as well. So Chris and Ashley, anything you want to add before we finish up?
I'm all good.
I
All
think
good?
we said a lot of it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Please
we filled
don't,
their brain.
please don't use petroleum or Vaseline on your face for glowy skin. If you want glowy skin, just let us know and we'll help you otherwise. But
Yeah. Please
Vaseline
don't.
is not the answer.
Just don't use Vaseline or petroleum jelly. Period.
Okay, it became a trend. It was a trend, okay?
Oh, I know.
I think last year or a couple years ago, how to get glass skin, lather Vaseline on your face and you'll have glowy skin for days. Because obviously it's topically staying on your face. It's not getting absorbed.
That's actually Ashley's soapbox recommendation for the day. She'll probably take out a billboard on the side of the Gardner Expressway into the city. Do not use Vaseline on your face, please and thank you. End of story. All right, everybody. That was another fun-filled episode here on the Clear Skin Chronicles. We'll see you again next Wednesday.
Thanks for hanging out with us this week on the Clear Skin Chronicles. We'll see you next Wednesday with a brand new episode. Remember to subscribe to the show and drop us a review. Sending glowing vibes your way, Katie and Chris.